Welcome to Friends with Fertility, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of fertility, reproductive health, and all the emotional journeys that are in between. I'm your host, Elizabeth King, a fertility expert dedicated to providing you with the knowledge, support, and inspiration you need on your path to parenthood. Whether you're just starting out, exploring your options, or looking for solidarity and advice, we are here for you. Let's embark on this journey together and turn uncertainty into empowerment and make friends with fertility. Let's get started. Hello, my beautiful friends. Today we have Vanessa Emily here. She is going to be talking about fertility abroad. And this is a hot topic for many reasons, but mainly why people go outside of the US to do their fertility treatments is because of cost. So welcome, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited for you to be here too, because I think unless somebody's done it, it seems like this big question mark of not really understanding. I'm in Southern California and I've had a few clients that have gone down to Mexico to do their IVF treatments and things like that. And I've known a few people to go to Europe. But really, unless you have started to dive into it yourself, it does seem like a big question mark. So I'm hoping that we can uncover that today so that people can get educated on what it means, why it's an option, and all the things. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this, first of all, and then we'll lead into everything else?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Well, I suppose the what led me into learning more about this was, yeah, definitely my own experience leading me through this. I was interested in fertility preservation and later IVF. And as I began to research, the options available to me within the U.S., I realized that my own journey led me to exploring it through largely and approaching it largely as a single mother by choice. And so I was really interested in learning more about the donor programs and the programs available cost wise, learning from the different banks. And then I came to learn about open ID donors versus anonymous donors, both of which are allowed here in the US. And then I decided that I wanted to look at it. This came in part because of my age. At this point, I was entering my early 40s. And so I wanted to look at being able to have multiple tries. So the big underlying thing would have been cost. And so as I began to learn more, I began to dial into, and I was primarily interested in Europe, going somewhere within Europe. I began to learn more about the donor programs within the different countries in Europe. And I always feel that the trifecta of countries would be Spain, Greece, and Czech Republic. These are really the countries that I think a lot of people feel comfortable traveling to. And, people from the UK really have paved the way, I feel, as far as foreigners traveling within Europe to go there. So I felt
Right.
very safe approaching
I
the
feel like
different
those are the
clinics.
hot spots with
Totally. hmm
fertility in Europe.
They
If
really are.
you're if you're I went to a event this summer in Amsterdam, and most of the people there from fertility were from those places. Well,
Yep.
either Czech Republic or Ukraine and Spain.
Yes.
And actually one clinic from Greece. And I've had patients from Greece as well before because they're so open with their things as well.
Yeah.
The other thing in regards to age, I feel like, is in some of the countries there compared to here, clinics may be more open to working with patients that are older.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It makes a difference, if you're in your early 40s and you meet with the clinic. I was actually corresponding with the clinic out of Kyiv. This is pre-invasion. They made me feel really good about being in my early 40s at the time. And so I
Right.
think that makes a huge difference.
Of
So,
course, I feel like they be part of your family when you're going through the process and you really end up
yeah,
communicating with them a lot, being there a lot, and you have a lot writing on it, especially if you're traveling there for this whole experience.
absolutely.
So, you decided to go to the Czech Republic or to Kyiv, you said, to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, I was for the clinic in Kiev, and then the invasion happened and the war kind of broke
Okay.
out. So I began to rethink things. And
Mhm.
at that time, I began to correspond with a clinic in Spain. There was a little bit of a roadblock for me there. The patient care coordinator with whom I was corresponding was wonderful, very warm. And I was just about to say, I think that also makes a huge difference in getting on with the clinic, how good their foreign patient care coordinator staff is.
Right.
The lady was
I
very
agree.
good. I still remember her name. Unfortunately for me, Spain only offers anonymous. They only permit, let me say that better, they only permit anonymous donors. And for me, making the choice to use a donor, that was something that I opted not to go forward with, as I prefer to use an open ID donor. This is a personal decision. And
Can you explain what that is for anyone listening who may not be aware of what that means yet?
yeah, absolutely. So, anonymous is just that, meaning that, upon turning 18, there's not an option to contact the clinic or bank to learn for more information. Whereas with an open ID donor, that donor has signed off on being okay with being contacted later in life by the child. I don't think I would have had the right to reach out to the donor, but the child would have had the right. So, um,
And are they able to do that before 18 or it has to be after 18 for them? Like
y-
if the 10-year-old comes to you and says, I want to know about this donor and I would like to contact them, are they able to or no?
yeah, I worked with the European Sperm Bank, and I had understood no. That child would not have been able to contact prior to the age of 18. But I think it's important in doing one's research to go ahead and just verify that with the bank just to make sure.
Right.
Because the question will probably come before the age of 18, I'm guessing.
Right. I would guess in
Yeah.
most cases. Okay, so then what happened with your story? So you go to Spain, you talk to the foreign coordinator there.
I did. She was lovely. I found out, however, that I couldn't move forward with the with that process using an open ID donor, and so I began to look elsewhere. I began to look at. I mean, I had gone to clinics. I've gone to clinics in Portugal, and I've gone to clinics in Czech Republic and Greece. And ultimately, myself, I settled on a clinic in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
That's the first
yeah,
time I've heard that.
yeah. It's kind of
How
far
did how
flung.
did you find that?
How did I come into them? Well, I was really impressed that one of the things that also drove me to Europe was learning about MRT, mitochondrial replacement therapy.
Mhm.
In my now at this point, this would have been closer approaching my mid 40s. I thought that this might be um, a good option to give myself. And
Mhm.
so I began to explore that option. And this clinic, I think clinics in Ukraine as well also do it. There's a clinic, I think in the Bahamas, they're also starting to do it now. And so this clinic used it for certain patients, upon patient request. And it was something that I was interested in. So that's another reason why I went with Bulgaria. The clinic is super busy. It's multiple within Sofia, but this is really it's in a women's hospital, and it's just super busy. So it's much like the infamous CNY wait here
Mm.
within the
Right,
states, where
right,
there's like a 2 to 3 month wait. So
right.
but yeah, I moved forward with them, and I've gone through a embryo transfer. I went through one at the earlier part of the summer. That didn't work out. I've got embryos on ice still, so that's nice. But I'm taking a break right now, and so I'm taking a pause in things and just trying to regroup, and yeah, maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I'm having some some I'm going through stuff, I'll happily admit, and approaching this as a single mother by choice. I think it's important that I, foremost take care of myself. I foremost am ready. And so, I think this clinic also, they're very supportive about working with older women. And so, I feel like I still have a few years left. So we
That's
shall
great, and I
see.
think this whole process is ebbs and flows all the
Yeah,
time, I feel like,
yeah,
and you have to allow yourself that grace to say, "I need to take a pause," for whatever reason it may be,
yeah.
and feel good at it, because if you're not 100% there, and I see this all the time, especially with older patients,
Mhm.
because they feel like they don't have the time,
Yeah,
that, I'm just gonna do the transfer even though I'm stressed about this, or I'm not 100% sure, I'm still nervous because of the loss I just had," or whatever it is,
mhm,
and really you wanna be 1,000% all in and
yeah,
really figure out what else is going on in order to, clear that up before you move forward and be excited about the option of doing this rather than kind of a, "Oh gosh, I guess I'm just gonna do it because I'm running out of time," sort of thing. So to
mhm.
have that that a clinic is allowing you to take that is also really nice, to not feel like you're so under pressure to hurry up and make the decision. Now, are your embryos there as well,
Yes.
I'm assuming?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, they're in Sofia, and, yeah, all is good. I mean, it was interesting, the pause, because, I had spent so much time, there, I've been going forth for a couple of years, and, just kind of, like, banking eggs, banking
Mhm.
embryos. I had frozen some, and some I made into embryos, and, since then, Bulgaria had joined the Schengen zone, and what that means is, prior to March of this year, if I Bulgaria and spent my, I think it was like I'm allowed 90 days there every 180 days, and so, but if I had gone to, I don't know, Greece or France or
Right, it
other
would start
countries,
over.
yeah, it didn't count. Now they kind of folded it all into one. Bulgaria joining Schengen zone, so now it all counts. And so I'm also, that's yet another reason why I'm taking this, because I maxed out time
You're
without.
legally not allowed to get back yet.
Yeah, so
That's good.
it's happenstance, happy.
Right. Good. I do believe it happens for a reason, so that's
Yeah.
good to know. And with all of your travels to all these other clinics, what was your experience with the different countries and pricing? Was it all much similar? Was the environment within the clinic similar? I know, like you said, this was in a hospital. I know in a lot of countries in Europe, they do all their fertility stuff in hospitals rather than in the US. Most of them is done in the fertility clinic itself. What differences did you find there
I thought the facilities were beautiful. I mean,
in all of the areas?
yeah, it's wild. The facilities were beautiful in the Czech Republic. The facilities were really nice. It surprised me on a certain level. I mean, I had gone to a couple of monitoring appointments here in the U.S., and I mean, they were in like former doctors' offices, the 1970s and 80s, with that old cabinet paneling and stuff. And no, there was
Right.
none of that in Europe. I mean, that was stuff was it was so crisp and nice, and um I mean, really nice facilities. I wouldn't place I had gone to. There was a place in Cyprus, in northern Cyprus, one of the clinics there. I was like, yeah, okay. But I went to another clinic, which was located in the hospital, which I did blog about, and I do recommend that that is a place to go to. Beautiful facility, with lots of. It was like a medical atrium. So
Wow.
yeah,
And the language was always okay?
yeah. I think I encountered problems with the the patient care coordinators in Bulgaria, but I got used to it, and they knew me. And strangely enough, my the lady who I had the I was from, she was also going through the program there. Bless her heart.
Wow.
Yeah, I think she's like 51 or 52 and doing it. So kudos
Oh
on
my
her.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So she was a great help too. But English is pretty. That's everyone. I feel they're pretty on with, and they understand that it's going to be in English. So
Right. And legally, how did that go? I know here in the States, you need to sign a lot of paperwork when you're doing all of this stuff for contracts and whatnot. Did you find that you felt okay from a legal perspective of your embryos being there and all the things that go along with that?
oh yeah, there was a ton of paperwork. Oh yeah, the clinic had them, the hospital rather. They had themselves covered. There was plenty. How to say in indemnification forms to sign. Definitely. Yeah, there was no had they had their tushes covered.
Okay.
So
And then what if you wanted to take your embryos somewhere else? I know here it's common practice that you change clinics and you take your embryos from place to place. How do they go about doing that if you said, actually, I'm going to do my transfer in the US or I'm going to do my transfer in the UK or somewhere else? Is that an option?
it is an option. I I asked about this regard with a clinic in Greece. I think it was at New Life Greece in Thessaloniki. I asked this very same question. Um, the answer that the doctor, or was it the patient care coordinator? Anyway, the answer they gave was that the receiving clinic would orchestrate the move and everything. And so I actually had sperm in Kiev that when the war broke out, I had to return back to the bank because at that point I hadn't settled on a clinic just yet. So I did have to. I know this is slightly a tangential story, but I had to ship the sperm back to Copenhagen, and I used. They were very good. They sent pictures. It wasn't the cheapest thing. I think it
Mhm.
was around $1,000 shipping from Kiev back to Copenhagen. But I believe when I shipped the sperm again, when I finally selected and went with the clinic in Bulgaria, that was only around 350 or something, because that was the bank sending it out. But I used a cryo shipper and felt safe with them. So I know that's slightly different, but I just wanted to speak on personal experience. It can be done, but that I think that's something you definitely one would want to approach the clinic before getting started on what that would look like, just in case.
Definitely.
Yeah,
For several reasons. I mean, I'm sure when you started in Kiev, when you hadn't nobody really thought any of that was gonna go down, and then I mean, gosh, can you even believe it? I still am shocked that it's still going on.
yeah.
Um, and so from this experience, what has been your biggest takeaway from this whole journey? Because I feel like the word fertility journey for you has a full different meaning because it's literally been you journeying around Europe with this experience.
I like that. Yeah, that's funny. I like that. It literally has been. It takes more time. I think it takes more time than one would anticipate, and so I think it's important to budget for that marathon. So yeah, that's nothing earth shattering like to a marathon versus a sprint, and I think people should. Oh, that just sounds so bad. People should. People could idea of you got to find a way to manage your stress during the process, and that could look like anything. Time away, healing practices, working with a healer, working with a therapist, working with a coach. I think those are all hugely important, and one really should budget for that
Mhm.
from the get go. I think those are huge, important. For me, I think the awareness has been around fertility preservation, and I think while it's Perhaps not the perfect answer. It is the best answer for things, if possible. So I think I would say to women in their, you know, early 20s and beyond, consider fertility preservation.
Yes, I did it, at 36 and went on to have my children in my 40s as well, and unfortunately, I only had eggs at that point, and we weren't able to use any of them, but I also, encourage people to do that because of everyone that I come in contact with that is in their 40s and wishes that they would have done earlier, and not only eggs, but embryos, because I know even though the technology is different and better now, it still is different when you're thawing an egg versus an embryo just by the molecular structure of each. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I'm curious about the again because most people go over there because it's cheaper to do it. But then on the flip side, you're paying for Airbnbs and flights and Ubers to get to these clinics from the airport and whatnot. Do you still feel after all of that you have still saved money in comparison having had done it in the United States?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I know what I submitted to my accountant as far as like foreign medical write off bills. It's not, you can't deduct everything. But I think because where I chose to stay in East Europe, yes, it was by far and large.
Mhm.
Yes, the flight would be, 1,000, maybe more in the summer. But I don't recommend doing it in the summer. Doctors are often on vacation. Everything's higher in the summer. I recommend going in the fall or spring. I don't recommend going over the holidays because the clinics are closed. And so, depending on when you go, I think even a place like Greece or Spain could still be affordable. I think you could get still an Airbnb for $50 a night. I think you could still get a flight for under $1,000. I think you could still transfer from the airport to your hotel for less than $20. I think it is still possible.
And if you could put a percentage on how much the preservation aspect from here there would be, do you feel like you're 50% by going there to freeze eggs and do all that, or less? Like what do you think that is for
Yeah,
people that are just starting out to consider
yeah.
this as an option?
Yeah, I think I'd start off by up in a metaphor. I would say look at it as your offshore account. Look at it as your offshore investment account. Look at it as your offshore the Caymans or whatever, your bank accounts, right? It's an offshore account, and you have it. You can always go there. It's not, you may use it or you may not, but it's nice to know that you have. So that I look at it from an investment standpoint. And percentage wise, gosh, I think
Like,
most
is it
places,
that much cheaper to go there than it is here?
yeah, I mean, I think most places, 4,500 to 6,000 is reasonable for one round. You would need to speak with them, and it just depends, if your AMH is, I know that's not the sole predictor, but, if they're going to, based on the initial monitoring appointments, they're only going to get, maybe you did your monitoring here in the States before you went, you have to make a decision. And yeah, the lines intersect somewhere of, the cost per anticipated egg retrieved per dollar. And so that's a personal decision to make. I think that um, it's important to look at and decide what you're comfortable
Well,
with.
even that number, 4,500 to 6,000, that is about 50%, if not more, than what the average is right now in the United States. And of course, it depends how many rounds you have to do, if you're fertilizing eggs, if you're testing the eggs, et cetera, et cetera. But just from a, retrieval perspective, that definitely is way less. I think that hopefully we're getting to a point where things will start to be a little bit more regulated, not only in the United States, but everywhere, so that it we have a baseline across the board of what's happening and what people are doing and what can be done or cannot be done. But in the meantime, I think that having the options and having people talk about more options is great, because I think the roadblock of finances is often one for people who are trying to conceive, whether they're doing it on their own or same sex marriage or whatever, whoever. It's always this idea that, oh my gosh, I don't think I can afford to do IVF, or I don't think I can afford to do XYZ. And knowing that there's different options out there that potentially could get you to the same end result is really great to know. And it sounds like you have forged a path for many in all these different directions to give insight, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Well, my blog lives at challengestrugglevictory.com. You can learn about the different clinics that I've visited, and or one can go and learn about the different clinics. And I also give insights into stress management on the blog. Or you can also find me at my name, vanessaemily.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing all that you did today and giving some insight into a world that most of us are very unfamiliar with, and maybe giving hope to somebody that they too can go over and their whole journey just like you have. Thanks again for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Friends with Fertility. We hope that you found the stories, insights, and tips as inspiring and informative as we did. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Your friends with fertility are here for you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and more fertility resources. Until next time, stay hopeful and keep believing in your journey, and know that we are sending you lots of love.